Great Monday morning. Hope you're having a beautiful start to yet another day. I don't know if you ever have nights like this where you're tossing and turning, like you're asking, Lord, why? Why this suffering? Or maybe your soul is sore vexed. And that was a scripture that we went over today. If you went over Psalms 6 and 36 and 66 and 96. And David is describing how, in verse 3, his soul was really suffering. And he was asking how long. And your furniture might not have had any any moisture. Your pillows might not have been wet. But in verse 6, it talks about how David was weary from groaning and crying. And his bed was just like he could swim, right, with the tears, a metaphor. And his couch was just full of anguish and sorrow. Well, a lot of suffering going on, and we're still praying for the families who have experienced great loss during this virus. Well, the Lord still will answer and be with his children. Thy mercy, Psalms 36:5. O Lord, is in the heavens, and thy faithfulness reacheth unto the clouds. Just like the clouds unleash rain, the Lord will still unleash his mercy upon his children. Thy righteousness is like the great mountains. How excellent is thy loving kindness. Oh God, therefore we put our trust under the shadow of thy wings. And the promise is in verse 8, we shall be abundantly satisfied with the fatness of thy house, and you shall make us to drink the rivers of pleasures. In verse 8, plural pleasures. So not only one source. And this is wow. This is the cherry on top. Verse 9, for with thee is the fountain of life. When you're feeling depressed or depleted or empty or have voids, he is the source, not that weed. I don't know what they're saying. There's such a demand now, and they're saying that the consumption of cannabis and alcohol during this time, are you kidding me? And this is not the time to be smoking weed, and how it affects the lungs and what? And this virus goes into the lungs? No. For with thee is the fountain of life, and in thy light shall we see light. And we're asking the Lord to continue thy loving kindness. Amen. And you might be asking, like, Lord, why? Why have you allowed so much suffering to happen, maybe to you specifically or your family? Well, in verse 12, you can have this testimony. Thou hast caused men or situations to ride upon over our heads, but we went through the fire, we went through the flood, but God has brought us out into a wealthy place, and he wants us to be able to declare that among the heathen. What's heathen? Psalms 126. That means unbelievers, people who are like, no, there's no God out here. Look, he wants us to be able, it says in verse 2, to tell the great things, Psalms 126, that the Lord has done for us, to declare it. And keep on, stay persistent. They that sow in tears shall reap in joy, and you shall bring back much when you plant seed. We're in Isa.14, and the promise is in that chapter, again, he, in verse 3, will give us rest from our sorrow. Do not give up, you all. He will give the whole earth rest. And even though we're being quiet, being introspective, we can break forth in singing, praising him and worshiping him. Have a wonderful day, being persistent, persevering, doing the will of the Lord, and being encouraged.